half-century-old cold case that appears to have been closed this week. Police in Burlington, Vermont say they now know who killed a 24-year-old woman on a summer night back in 1971. Michael George is here with how investigators cracked the case. Michael, good morning.
Well, Jeff, good morning. Like so many of these cases, it was DNA that solved this mystery. The suspected killer leaving a clue at the crime scene that wasn't able to be unlocked until now. The crime horrified the city of Burlington, Vermont in July 1971 and haunted investigators for more than 50 years. Rita Curran, a 24-year-old elementary school teacher, was found beaten, strangled, and sexually assaulted in the bedroom of the apartment she shared with roommates. Someone entered through an unlocked door, finding Curran at home and alone. Curran's sister Mary was 22 years old at the time.
I don't know what she would have been like when she was 35 or 40. I don't have that image because she's always 24 years old to me.
The case confounded investigators for decades.
Then the years rolled into decades, even though we might not ever give up hope that we really felt at this point the person was probably dead and that we would never know who did it.
Until 2014, when a retired detective sent an object found near Curran's body to be analyzed for DNA.
The cigarette butt had been dropped there and burned out on the floor next to her body.
The DNA on the cigarette butt offered a genetic profile of whomever smoked it, but didn't lead to a name in a database. That came years later, when a DNA testing company traced the sample through family members to William DeRoos, who was 31 years old in 1971 and lived in the apartment above Rita Curran.
We were numb. It's like, oh, 51 and a half years, and it's the guy upstairs.
DeRoos's wife in 1971 says he left their apartment that night after a fight, but that he convinced her to maintain his alibi.
The husband and wife gave each other alibis. 5 decades later, she told our detectives a different story, the truth.
Despite what police say is rock-solid evidence, William DeRoos will not be held accountable.
Today, William DeRoos would be 83, but there is not a cop in this building who would not happily put handcuffs on him. Instead, he died in San Francisco in 1986, 15 years after murdering Rita.
While they won't receive justice for Rita's murder, Mary Curran says her close-knit family is what got her through the past half-century of pain.
I had only 22 years, and it's been 50. My children never knew her. My grandchildren never knew her, and they're the ones that people say, how do you get through it? How did you get through it? I got a lot of rocks holding me up.
And throughout the 52 years this case was open, Burlington police never gave up on it. At one point, they even zeroed in on notorious serial killer Ted Bundy, but at this point, the reason they solved this case is because they held on to that evidence, including that cigarette butt that led them to who they believe is the killer.
It's amazing with all of these DNA things that people go through now, suddenly you can find something.
We've seen it over and over again, those ancestry and genealogy DNA sites leading to a DNA match.
Fascinating. Thank you, Michael.